The 10-year challenge is going viral. One of the most viral pictures is this one of global warming. It's one of the top 2 Google searches when you search 10-year challenge. And this first picture is actually from a 2016 article. But that's not even the most important part about this. Everybody likes to talk about the ice melting and the polar bears, and it makes them feel really good about themselves on Instagram, like they're helping the world. And if that's the case, you should really listen to this video. Study: mass gains of Antarctic ice sheet greater than losses. This isn't from a conspiracy website or a right-wing website. This actually comes from the NASA website in 2015, telling you mass gains of Antarctic ice sheet greater than losses. A new NASA study says that an increase in Antarctic snow accumulation that began 10,000 years ago is currently adding enough ice to the continent to outweigh the increased losses from its thinning glaciers. How could this be? Al Gore made so many videos, and Democratic politicians for decades have been telling us, give us all of your tax money and we'll stop the climate from changing. Could there really be more total snow and ice, as they're telling us that the ice is melting and the world's gonna end? Let's go to 2018. Antarctica's contribution to sea level rise was mitigated by snowfall. This is also from NASA, a left-wing favorite, directly from their article. Snowfall is very difficult to measure over Antarctica. For starters, there are very few weather stations in the frozen continent, and most of them are installed along the coastline. Secondly, satellites have a hard time measuring snow from space. They basically confuse the snow that's falling down with the snow that's already on the ground. Climate models struggle to replicate the total amount of snow that falls over Antarctica each year. So scientists often have to rely on ice cores, cylinders of ice drilled from the ice sheet, whose layers store a trove of information, amongst it, how much snow fell in a certain year or decade. But drilling ice cores is logistically challenging, so they are sparse and do not cover the entire continent. So this is NASA admitting to you, first off, that they sometimes find that there's more gains of Antarctic ice sheet greater than the losses, that the problem in 2018 is really not that bad, and that it's really difficult to measure. They hyper freak out about certain ice melting, but whisper the truth to you that there might be mass gains overall. Is it really that crazy to think that the climate is shifting? To understand that on Earth, all you have to do is think about spring, autumn, summer, and winter. No matter where you're from, the climate shifts every single year. It might snow in December. It might be so hot that you want to swim in a pool in June and July. That's the climate shifting. It's actually a very simple concept. Yes, of course, ice is going to melt. It's going to turn into water. Snow's going to fall elsewhere. And according to NASA, the mass gains of Antarctic ice are greater than the losses. So we're actually gaining ice, but yes, it's melting in certain regions that they take a picture of, freak out, throw a polar bear on there and say, oh my God, the ice is melting. What if we put a tax on the whole world and took your money for it? It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not paid by the oil company or Republicans. I'm an environmentalist, but a skeptic who has a brain and doesn't just follow the herd.
I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear, Mr. Kenny's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now. Hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney, and yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder, though, is when you see...
because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN, but I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do wonder is when you see the government, when you see NASA, when you see other institutions say that 97% of climate scientists agree, do you think they're making it up? What I don't understand is how you square that.
Well, that's a manipulated figure, and let me explain it to you. The government puts out about $2.5 billion directly for climate research every year. It only gives that money to scientists who will produce scientific results that support the global warming hypothesis of the Democrat Party position. So they don't have any choice. If you're going to get the money, you got to support their position.
First of all, if too much carbon is the problem, we have something called trees. Literally trees. Don't think we can plant a lot? India planted tens of millions of trees in 24 hours and broke a world record. If it's really a problem, why don't all the world leaders come together and say, hey, let's all plant billions upon billions of trees today? We could literally solve the problem with a lot of trees. And all environmentalists know we don't have enough, so let's plant more. Very simple. But if there's no problem, or there's no perceived problem, or they can't take pictures out of context and make you think that there's a problem, then how are they going to convince you to give tax money to the EU or the UN or the United States government? With no crisis, it's not very easy to make people give up their money and freedom for something that actually doesn't make sense. Every time they want to start a war in the Middle East, do they just tell you? No, they use pictures of women and children and say, oh my goodness, women and children, we got to do this. And then everybody who watches too much TV says, yeah, we got to do this. Oh my God, we're going to hurt women and children. It's not easy to just lie to you and to get you to do something foolish. So they need to build the narrative. And for someone who's believed in climate change and global warming for a decade myself, I've went to water protests. I do consider myself an environmentalist. I believe in clean water, clean air. I think we have a long way to go. It would be great if a lot of our cities weren't ridiculously polluted. Trust me, I want to clean the air. I want to clean the water. I want to save the world and make the world a better place. But in order to do so, we need to stop lying to ourselves and just posting pictures to make ourselves feel good on social media. Because the truth is, according to NASA themselves and many others, the climate is shifting. Some ice is melting, some ice is gaining. There's actually active volcanoes under the ice that they saw melting. An active volcano. Literally. But even in that article, it seemed like they didn't want you to think that that's why it was melting. They're like, oh yeah, there's an active volcano, but that's not the only reason. That's not why it's happening. How foolish do you think I am? I've said this to climate change activists, and they're like, oh yeah, well, that maybe. Truth is, yes, humans have an effect on this planet. Every cause has an action. I absolutely think we're messing up in many ways. I appreciate people like Elon Musk who don't just talk on Twitter and Instagram and actually do something. He seems like one of the only ambitious environmentalists out there. Some people from Europe made a machine that can clean the air. A young kid made a device that can clean the ocean. I love that stuff. I definitely think we need to clean the ocean. There's way too much trash. We need to clean the air. We need to clean the water. But there's also things that we can't control. Volcanoes, for instance, can explode and destroy our entire civilization. A volcano recently erupted on Hawaii and destroyed my friend's house. There's nothing we could do about it. The volcano dictates mankind. Mankind does not dictate the volcano. The people of Hawaii know this. They call it Pele and consider it a female god. When it comes to the oceans, 95% are unexplored. A majority of Earth is oceans, and we haven't explored 95% of the ocean. We haven't explored more than half of Earth itself. Even the top scientist on the planet doesn't really know that much, especially when they're only drilling into certain ice and saying, oh, this ice is melting. And they admit to you that they can't really measure everything. They know some stuff, but they really don't know that much. And from what they do know, it doesn't seem like the ice is melting very fast. It seems like it's melting super fast in some places and substantially growing in other places. So please spare me another 10-year challenge picture or a virtue signal. I care about the environment, so I'm gonna act like all the ice is rapidly melting when it's really not. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should just lie and post fake pictures and pat ourselves on the back and say, wow, we really did something for the world. But if you really want to help, you have to get down to the core of it. And the truth is, with global warming and climate change, there's a huge agenda behind it, just like of course there probably is oil. And it's not hard to see the agenda with the Paris Climate Agreement that literally did nothing. Hey, give us all of your money. We'll have a carbon tax in France. The carbon tax is really working out great there. Not. Look at all the protests and the fires, people dying. It's the biggest protest they've had in decades because people don't want to pay a carbon tax. That's literally not even going to change the climate of the planet. They've admitted that. It seems like one big giant scam on the world so they can get every country to give up power, control, and money for something that very well may not be happening. I'm down with environmentalism, but create a solution like these people rather than saying, let's give all our taxes, money, and control to the federal government and the global government and that will solve the problem. Sounds like sheep talk and zombie talk to me. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Share this video, tag a friend, try to open somebody's eyes to at least consider what I'm saying, because if you can't even consider this video, there's a lot of lies and a lot of deception in the world that is going to catch you by surprise in the next few years, and it's time that we all start having real discussions, because the truth is going to sneak up on us whether we like it or not. Thank you for listening. Support my news channel if you'd like. This video is probably going to get demonetized on Facebook and YouTube like many of my videos do, but it's all good. We'll keep the ball rolling anyway. Thanks again.